Hi FIN525ers. I've finally got the marking rubric for Assessment 3 together, and I'd just like to talk you through it now as we did for Assessment 2. Basically, this assessment deals with finding a bank's annual report and analysing its liquidity position. Okay, so we're looking at this assessment through the frame of liquidity management. Obviously being one of the major risks that a financial institution can face. So that's the framework, okay, that's the big picture. Now the criteria that I've decided on for assessment, I'll talk through now. The first one is pretty straightforward in terms of being fairly obvious that you have to choose an appropriate bank to discuss. And you can, if you work for a particular financial institution, by all means use theirs. If you don't, I'd go Big Four. But, anything reasonable. In other words, don't go and choose the tiniest, littlest, most insignificant bank you can find. Okay? I'd stick with mainstream. So then I want you to initially discuss the bank's liquidity position. There will be statements in their annual report relating to their liquidity. Draw on that as your information, and then what I'm really looking for throughout this assessment is you being able to relate it to the theory. Okay, so analyse it for me. They could write some nonsense in an annual report. Really see if what they're saying stacks up with what they've done. Okay, so that's 4 marks out of the 20. The two big criteria, if you like, are discussing the asset side, okay, and then discussing the liability side. So in the question, when I ask you to go and look at the bank's asset portfolio, I'm asking you to do that through the lens of liquidity management. Okay, now what makes a good analysis here? The HD one, let's start with that. The information is accurate. No irrelevant material's been used. We've made excellent connections between theory and practice. Okay, and an excellent discussion of the risk-return trade-off in the context of liquidity management. Okay, so I want you to look at this balance sheet through the lens of liquidity management, and then bring in the theory that you've learnt in the liquidity management section of this subject to as the lens through which you analyse it. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So we can have excellent, we can have good, we can have fair. Okay, and again, that's a subjective assessment, and it's mine to make, I guess. And we can always discuss, through my feedback, I would hope I would give you feedback as to why you were in a particular level. Okay. A pass in that criteria is, it may not be entirely accurate, may not seem to fit in response to the question. You might have put something wacky in there. And that the real killer here is going to be the weak connection between the theory, or you haven't drawn in enough theory to explain what they are doing. Okay, so that's the asset side. The liability side, similar sort of process. Okay, but now of course you're focusing on, have there been changes between this year and last year, and why might that have occurred? So rather than focus on the risk-return trade-off, as in the asset side, now we're looking at what changes have happened and offering some explanation for that. Okay? So in other words, similar process. I want to see a connection there between the theory and practice. Okay? And then I want to see some analysis. And again, that can be excellent, good, fair, average. So they're both 6 marks. So they are the big criteria. Okay? Then when we go on, I've allocated 3 marks for a combined writing style, writing mechanics in this one. I'd like to see some nice structure and no spelling mistakes. And then this one, I want to give everyone 1 mark, please. Okay, I just want to see the sources of information and that you've referenced them. Okay, I found it very hard to make distinctions between the levels on this last one. It's a yes or no. Really, in my book, you've either done it or you haven't, and I want to give everyone 1 mark, please. Okay? Alright guys, as always, please contact me if I've not made things clear. if you need me to relate this to A, B, and C, I can. Okay, criteria 1 is really A, B is criteria 2, and C, part C of the question, is criteria 3. Okay, but I didn't want to break them up that way. I wanted to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Okay, guys, have fun. I'll talk to you soon.